Welcome everybody. If you could do me a favour and help the channel by sharing with one other person, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks. This is Granny's GodPod 103. What is it with fig trees? Have you ever noticed how many references to fig trees there are in the Bible? We know there were fig trees in the Garden of Eden because Adam and Eve tried to cover their shame with fig leaves. This insufficient remedy of man was solved by God providing a covering of skin. Figs are always associated with a place of paradise, under the vine, under the fig tree. The land is blessed. Figs produce 2 harvests a year, the early crop around Passover time in the spring, even before the leaves have unfurled, and the biggest, best, most juicy fruits come into their own in September. In Deuteronomy 8:8, God promises that if Israel keeps his commandments, they will enter an abundant land of vines and fig trees. 1 Kings 4:25 tells us of Solomon ruling a peaceful land, where Judah and Israel lived in safety, every man under his vine and his fig tree. The phrase under his vine and under his fig tree is often used as a metaphor for peace, prosperity, and freedom from oppression. When the king of Assyria tries to tempt Judah to surrender, 2 Kings 18:31, he says, "Come out to me and eat each of his vine and each of his fig tree, until I come and take you away to a land as abundant as your own land." The prophet Jeremiah 8:13 berates Judah for its disobedience, saying, "There will come a time when the fig tree is barren," signifying a lack of fruitfulness and prosperity. After the Babylonian captivity, Jeremiah 24:1, the Lord gave Jeremiah a vision of 2 baskets of fruit figs set before the Lord's temple, one of very good figs, like first ripe figs, and the other of figs too rotten to be eaten. The imagery represents the different fates of the people of Judah. The good figs are those who will be blessed and restored, while the bad figs are those who will face judgment and exile. This idea is echoed in Matthew 7:16. In the Minor Prophets, we can see warnings of how God's judgment would bring destruction and crop failure, specifying empty fig trees that were stripped bare and fruitless. The fig tree appears to act as a barometer of the health of the nation of Israel, both spiritually and physically, taken away as punishment, flourishing in times of restoration. Hosea 9:10 says, "When I found Israel, it was like finding grapes in the desert. When I saw your ancestors, it was like seeing the early fruit on the fig tree." Micah 4:4 tells of the latter days, when every man shall sit under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid. As part of this prophecy of the peace and prosperity to come in the Messianic age, Zechariah 3:10 also says, "Every one of you will invite his neighbour to sit under his vine and under his fig tree." The sitting under equates to shade and protection from the elements. Grapevines and fig trees were often planted together, the grapevine climbing up the fig tree, as well as providing shade for the grape harvest. It helped hide the grapes from birds. My favourite fig tree incident is in John 1:48, when Jesus tells Nathanael, "I saw you under the fig tree." In verse 43, Jesus had called Philip to follow him, and he, like Andrew and Peter, were from Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael saying, "We have found him of whom Moses and the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, son of Joseph." Nathanael dryly replies, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" As Nathanael approached, Jesus said, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit." When Nathanael asked Jesus, "How do you know me?" Jesus said, "I saw you under the fig tree before Philip called you." What was happening under the fig tree that made Nathanael's immediate response be to declare that Jesus was the Messiah? As an Israelite, Nathanael was a descendant of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel when he wrestled with God and prevailed. Jacob's name meant a deceiver. Was Nathanael wrestling with God, alone and unseen, hidden by the fig trees? Both Matthew and Luke tell of Jesus knowing people's thoughts and hearts. So Jesus, seeing Nathanael under the fig tree and understanding he was a descendant of Jacob with no deceit in him, was proof of this divine attribute. Jesus continues, "Because of this you believe, you will see greater things than these. You will see the heavens opened and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man," which is a direct reference to Jacob's ladder, when heaven engages with the earth. Perhaps the best known fig tree story occurs in Matthew 21:18, when Jesus curses the barren fig tree, full of leaves but no fruit, and it withers. In Mark 11:12, the incident is connected to the cleansing of the temple, with the fig tree serving as a symbol of the temple's lack of true righteousness. Despite its outward appearance, Israel fails to produce spiritual fruit and will suffer the consequences. In Mark 11:20, Jesus uses the same incident to teach about the power of faith and prayer. In Matthew 24:32, Jesus uses the fig tree to illustrate the coming of summer and, by extension, the signs of his return. One fig tree parable is unique to Luke's Gospel 13:6. "A man has not found any fruit on his fig tree for 3 years, and told his vineyard keeper to cut it down. The keeper asks him to give it another year, to be dug and fertilized. But if it still bears no fruit, then cut it down." Here the fig tree symbolizes those who, despite being part of God's vineyard, the community of faith, are not producing the fruits of righteousness. And those who do not bear fruit, that is, those who do not live according to God's will be judged. Figs even feature in the last book of the Bible. Revelation 6:13 describes stars falling to the earth like a fig tree dropping its unripe figs when shaken by a strong wind. And there's more. We might notice Jesus often stayed in Bethany, where Lazarus, Mary and Martha lived. The literal translation of the Aramaic name Bethany, Bet-Ani, is the house of figs, and a related location, Bethphage, translates to the house of unripe figs. Excuse me. I have never eaten a fig, but I'd sure like to try one after this. I hope you will notice references to fig trees now when you read or listen to the Bible. Bye for now. See you in the next one.